so I ended up having fits of rage because it was like I feel trapped. There's an elephant in the room that's making us sink deeper and deeper, but I can't address it. I can't address the thing, but it's affecting me.
You'll talk about your wives being depressed, but then we wouldn't stop to say, hey man, like as we're talking about, are you okay? Like do you are you coping? Are you handling stuff well? Sure, we all know our wives are struggling with stuff, but are we cool, you know?
They knew that this is not the Puski we know, right? You're always so happy, you're always whatever. Okay, you're struggling with depression. Okay, we can see that it's bad. But I couldn't articulate how bad it was. So this video for me, I was like, please go watch this. And it was like, shucks.
Sure.
Like now we get it.
Right? So as in, what does it mean to actually have a mental illness? Most of them didn't actually know what that actually means.
Yeah.
And ironically, a lot of the people who, and it was mainly like women, who put that on me, I suspect had struggles themselves at some point in life. Because I'm like, now that I'm in it, I'm like, I think you might be taking
Yeah,
this
you
stuff.
look like yeah.
Actually, you are self-medicating with alcohol all the time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What's good, beautiful people? Welcome to 2.5 Husbands, where we celebrate becoming better husbands.
It's 2.5, even though there are 3 husbands, and that's because at some point, one of us, if not all of us, was not fully the husband that we were supposed to be.
And that's why we actually come here on a weekly basis to discuss some of the issues that we face, some of the issues we are seeing around us, and we hope that the journey that we started with you and for you is going to benefit you,
And yours.
Yo. What's up?
Dumelang.
You guys.
Welcome to our podcast.
Our podcast.
Hey.
Anyway, guys, we're going to pick up part 2 of Married to Depression. Because obviously that episode did stuff for us. And I think it would have been... We had dope chats afterwards.
Yeah.
Just off camera, you know, and what that episode did for us. So I just thought, man... And the interactions that we've had with people and how that episode hit them, you know. So there's a lot of things for us to unearth there and double tap on certain things. But yeah, we're going to do that, reflect on that, kind of speak about where we are now. Because obviously we did say that this thing is a journey and it's not a once-off. But, you know, it's there somehow. So where are we now and what's happening?
Give my mate. Guys, this is my space when I'm listening. My resting bee face. Please,
I just want the people to know. The people to know when I first met Puski, I thought she didn't like me.
Everyone thought Puski
Then
was
I was like, oh no, she
mean.
just looks mean when she's paying attention. I'm like,
How? I must listen like this.
yes.
No, guys. Ow.
I am listening.
Like, who's this freak?
All right. So let's start there. What were your guys' thoughts on that episode we did?
Firstly, I feel like watching it, I was like, yo, we went in. Like, we didn't hold back. And I think I was shocked at how open he was. Because he was very open.
What was it shocking?
Because you don't like, guys, if you didn't know, David is not I'm going to talk in front of the camera and in front of people. So it was kind of shocking. So firstly that, but I think there was also a lot that I didn't know how he felt in terms of how intense and how deep like he experienced my depression. So that was, And is it weird, guys, have you also watched the video? I've watched it so many times.
I've watched it like 3 times.
Like, why? We know what you were saying. We know what you said.
I don't know. I feel like it's like, because I think that's the first time we kind of all spoke about. I mean, that's the first time we, as like me and Black, spoke about what happened, like, you know?
Yeah.
And then the 4 of us, so it's just like, yo. And I think, so I definitely share what Puski said. Like, I was surprised. There was a lot that was said there that I was like, I didn't know, especially like stuff that you said, Black. But I think I was also surprised, and maybe one of the reasons I keep going back to the video was the feedback. Like, it just, I didn't expect it to connect with so many people. Not that I didn't think it would. I mean, not that I thought it wouldn't,
Yeah.
right? But I just didn't expect like that much of an engagement. People, messaging, seeing people like in person, and
Yeah.
even the comments there. So sometimes it's like I go back to see, like, what do people see? It's like a weird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a common theme, clearly, because then when I spoke to David afterwards, it was like, yo, man, it felt like we had a debrief of what happened in
Yeah.
the past 2
Yeah.
years, collectively, as couples as well. Where
You're
it's like,
taking
your words.
the words that I was gonna say.
It's
but-
okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
think of something
you know,
else.
you're,
no,
you're,
I
you're,
can't.
you're a great mind.
Sorry?
You're a great mind. There's a lot in that head.
Yeah. We go again. Yeah, we go again.
So so it was cool just to say, oh shucks, like this thing happened to us, and it's not like we didn't talk about it before the episode,
Yeah.
but I think the episode kind of was that deep exhaling that we needed, So
Yeah.
I'm like, it felt like we were keeping in the air, and that episode was like, oh shucks, okay, cool, I can breathe. Here's the thing, it's out now. And we can both talk about it, looking at it, and not just talking about it while we're in the
In it.
motions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, so I think that was such a great thing. By the way, we never post up any episodes on this podcast to say, on top of the screen when you speak about a previous episode, it pops up. Anyway, it's gonna be the first time. So if you're wondering what episode we're talking about and you haven't watched,
Oh, the card is gonna.
it's somewhere there. Yes.
Like, what is it
Oh,
again?
the card.
Yeah,
It's the card. It's somewhere there. It's gonna be the first episode where we have the card.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
I just realized that I'm the only non-YouTuber. You have a channel. You have a channel. You have a channel. So you got that, whatever.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But you watch.
Oh, wait, baby, sorry.
But you watch
I'm like,
YouTube.
oh, Kunze. Yeah, I do. No, Mara.
Oh,
yeah.
flip. Yeah.
So how's your channel doing? Mzansi Mam.
No, answer the
Are you taking over?
I'm asking.
No, you haven't answered. How did you
He
find
took away
me?
my answer. I think
That's
I
fine.
remember the recording being such a, is it epiphany? Like where you, like you in there and you realize just what you just been through. So that whole like, because we hadn't thought through what we were gonna say, and it just felt like a safe space to air out some of the things that we had gone through. Yeah, so I think for me, looking back, the best part of it was recording it, and then again the response on particularly some of the stuff we shared that I didn't feel was vulnerable, maybe because it felt like I'm sharing something with friends that we had gone through together. It felt like a safe space to do so. Then when you look at it, you're like, we might have said too much there. Yeah. So
Yeah. I think speaking of feedback, the thing that I think was surprising but not surprising was how most husbands responded, or not, at least the husbands who gave me feedback.
Yeah.
How they responded to the thing, So it's the surprising thing was how many of them are there.
Yeah.
The unsurprising thing was I knew that when people watch this, there's probably going to be a couple of husbands who think, oh, finally, I'm not the only one. I thought I was the only one dealing with the stuff. But I'm not the only one. So I was like, okay, I know that's going to happen. But I was just shocked at how many husbands were like, oh, smack. Like, what you guys went through, that's exactly what we've been going through. And I just thought as a dude, I don't have anyone to talk to. I don't have anyone to share stuff with. And so to see, going back to what you were even saying, like, you didn't think that you were being vulnerable because obviously you were friends. But for somebody who was watching, they crave for that vulnerability and they can't have it with anybody. And that episode provided that for them to say, Chucks, okay, I can talk to Black, or I can speak to a David or whatever, because he gets where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that was like, Chucks, man, like this thing has a lot of people by the neck, and people are just dying in their own corners, and they don't have anyone to talk to. And I think that adds on to the reality of depression, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, to top that, most of the viewers were from, I mean, in some ways knew us, or in some ways felt that they could relate to us. Yeah, in the sense that I don't think there's a lot of awareness of marriage and grappling with mental illness
Yeah.
in a South African context, Black South African context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the pastor friend of mine said, he made the comment, white guy leads a church that has both white people and black people. And yeah, he just said that there's no South African black voices on the matter that are coming in from a solid marriage point of view, but also viewing like
Mental health.
mental illness.
Yeah. Sure.
So
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that resonated with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was dope.
So I wanted to say, it was just, so I mean, again, for me, it's not like when we went in, it was like, yeah, this is like the mission. We're going, no, it was kind of like, hey, I mean, I think it would be interesting to hear why, like the personal gains from the episode. So like for me, it was, I'm leading to what you were saying about the whole, talking about it from a black perspective, was because mental health as a whole and then depression was never a conversation growing up. Because like it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
By the time I remember telling one of my neighbors that, yeah, I got my diagnosis, I think, I can't remember how I told her, but it was around me telling her that, yeah, I have to get a medication, it's official, whatever. And she's like, oh, she didn't say these words exactly, but it was like, join the club, like this, and she's white.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh? What do you mean? And then she started listing all these people that we know. Oh, this one's also dealing with this. And like, for me, I was like, first of all, it wasn't a thing that there are other people, dealing with this. But I realized retrospectively that all the people she mentioned were white, and I was like, so by the time we got the feedback from different people sending us messages, whatever, especially like the husbands, I'm like, these are all young black people. I'm like, how many of us are dealing with this stuff? Because at the time, the only other person I knew who was dealing with a mental issue was Buski. And even there, she was not sure what is actually happening.
Yeah.
I don't, you know what I mean? That's the only other person who looks like me, who kind of understands my context. So I think that was like, like putting that piece together, like feeling like, sure, like that's cool. You know what I mean? It felt cool to be like, because I know for me, like, watching or reading about people's stories who are dealing with mental illness has been so helpful to me. So it was like, shucks, I'm so glad someone felt less alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, people from our community, not just these people, everyone who watched it. But then also just for me, it felt like I didn't realize it consciously, but there was a lot of shame that was still attached to what I'm dealing with. And it felt like after releasing...
Shame from yourself.
Yeah, I felt ashamed. Yeah, because again, remember, it's unfamiliar. I don't know. Nobody has made this sort of normal. And by normal, I'm not saying that it's right, but that it's okay. Like, oh, you have a mental issue, it's okay. Like, we here. Nobody had sort of done... Like, I don't come from that community. So I didn't realize that there was a lot of shame. Like, I felt like I'm a weak woman. Like, you're like, look at your mom. Your mom is this. Like, how can you be... Like, look at your mom-in-law. Everyone is like... So there was so much shame for being this way that I had, again, that nobody had put on me, but I just had it because I felt like I wasn't like everyone else.
Do you feel like, though, that nobody put that on you? Because when I think of just the way people respond in our community to mental illness, there is shame in the sense that it's a competitive game. That look at all these other people who are struggling, perhaps in worse conditions than you, but they're doing well. Like, what's wrong with you? I mean, I've heard that. Like,
I have, and I've had
engaging with
that
people.
said to me.
Yeah. So is it the case that it's shame that you put on yourself, or
Social
like
shame that you carry.
that there's a social shame element to it, in as much as it's not just people out there putting
Right.
it on you.
I think like that's a double-sided. I have like two answers to that. In the one hand, yes, I can say I was made to feel ashamed, but most of the people weren't actually sure what they were shaming me for, right? So as in, what does it mean to actually have a mental illness? Most of them didn't actually know what that actually means.
Yeah.
And ironically, a lot of the people who, and it was mainly like women, who put that on me, I suspect had struggles themselves at some point in life. Because I'm like, now that I'm in it, I'm like, I think you might be taking
Yeah,
this
you look like yeah.
Actually, you are self-medicating with alcohol all the time, and and you're like, you're doing the things, but there's rage, there's this, there's sleeping all day, there's I don't, you know what I mean? So that's what I mean when I say it's kind of double-sided, because now that I sort of understand what's going on with me, and I've been able to sort of walk with, so like for instance, like with my mom, like it wasn't like a thing, like I had to. There was a lot of walking together and journeying together when now she's at so much more of a place of understanding where there might have been things that she said, not because she wanted to hurt me, but she just wanted me to be okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, just like, come on, like, you know, and then because I'm like, yeah. Like, I should do this. I should, but I think now that she sort of understands, it's like, it's a lot more gentle. I don't think that she would say those well-meaning things to me now compared to back then. That's why I'm like, so the shame was just feeling, I think it was mainly, not necessarily feeling sad, but just the dysfunction. Like, I'm like, how am I not functioning? Like other people, because then you say that to yourself. This one just, I don't know, lost her job and she's functioning. Like, how can you not be functioning? Yeah.
So so going into that episode, knowing that you're carrying shame, right? How did that play itself out post the episode? So, are you still?
Yeah, so and that's what I was saying. Like before because when you had talked about wanting to do this episode like months ago, the thing that was holding me back was because I was embarrassed. But then on that day with the way the shoot ended up happening, I didn't realize how embarrassed I was.
Sure.
But it was also, it felt like it sounds so corny. It sounds like that black song. Every R&B broken-hearted song of like taking your power back. Like it's literally, I'm taking my power back to me, myself, and I. You don't get to make me, but like seriously.
In the videos when she's packing the bags,
Listen,
it's on the
that
bed.
scene with Helen in Diary of a Mad Black Woman, old Helen is gone.
Yes.
You will not talk to me that way.
Yes.
Wow, with the bat.
And you can't even walk.
Exactly, the bubbles. Stop blowing those bubbles. But anyway, I was
That
just saying,
scene was
like,
satisfying.
it was very satisfying. But it felt like I had that moment where it's like the me who would also like shame myself, like just because also with all of this, there's a lot of negative self-talk.
Yep.
It felt like, okay, we pulling back the covers. This is what it is. Like, I'm not this person who has it together, and it's fine. Like, and so after that, there was it felt like a weight that I didn't know was there, was like gone. It was just like, And now it's like, it doesn't have to be this weird thing that I kind of just talk about, don't talk about. Like, and it's not for everyone. Like, you know what I mean, in terms of sharing. But for me, there was definitely a release, an emotional and just a release of also just being okay with myself. That this is what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And this is the truth.
Yeah, that was dope. I think it also happened for us as a couple.
Yeah.
But I want to hear Puski
I think for me, what the video did, I'm one person that I don't mind talking about stuff. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've been talking about it. You know what I mean? I've had, even in my little, like when I was seeing flames and I was off social media because it was giving me so much anxiety, and that's where I connect with my community as well. I'd share here and there. I took screenshots of the things that I used to share. I'm like, yo, Miguel, no go. I was going. And you know, like, on Instagram when you share a story, it was black and then just right. Like, we're not even sugarcoating. And I had already, like, had a lot of moms, like, reaching out to me and, like, shucks, man, thank you for sharing. This is what I'm going through. and
Because
what
you
we do."
had released an episode on your.
Not even. This is before the
No, this
episodes.
before.
This
Yeah.
was
So it's
before
just
the
stuff
episodes.
that you've been sharing,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was just stuff that I'm
Wow.
sharing, that I'm struggling.
Yeah.
By the time I did my YouTube, it was I feel like I'm in a better place
Mm-hmm.
because also what I realized at that point when I was sharing, it's kind of like gives you like it's you're not alone, right?
Yep.
But if
Yep.
you're not careful, people sharing their struggles can also kind of be heavy.
Yeah.
So then I started to be like, okay, yeah, I'm glad that people know that they're not the only ones. But now when they share, I would put that on myself. Like, have you done this? Do you know what I mean? You should try. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's not. So by the time I shared on
You were running a
on-
counseling center.
Hey, Mzala. Man, we are also we are we're all blind.
Yes.
And like genuinely, like people would say, listen, I'm actually thank you for sharing that you've been admitted. I'm actually going to get admitted. Do you know what I
Wow.
mean?
Wow.
So then it would be but what this thing did for me, I don't know how many of my friends I said, please go watch this. I felt like it was my friends saw that version of me and they couldn't understand, even though I would communicate and say, this is what I'm struggling with, it didn't match to, but this is not, they knew that this is not the Puski we know, right? You're always so happy, you're always whatever. Okay, you're struggling with depression. Okay, we can see that it's bad. But I couldn't articulate how bad it was. So this video for me, I was like, please go watch this. And it was like, shucks.
Sure.
Like now we get it.
Yeah.
Like we really, really get it. Like it was, and also because they're hearing it from David's perspective, they're hearing Lily, you know what I mean? Like, and understanding depression as a whole. And it was just like this is it. Like I don't know how, even on the videos that I did on my channel, they weren't as
Sure,
like
in
in
depth.
depth and like so I think it helped me and my friends to be like, okay, now we get it. We get it.
I just thought of something now. I'm like, it's obviously hard for them to get it because you at a braai, you at a getaway. So it's kind of hard at a braai to be the person who's like, forget the meat as my face. I just need to tell you how I feel.
Yeah.
Right? Because then at that point, you have to hold on to life. So I need to be a normal person for whatever the setting requires.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these are my friends and I need to be vulnerable. But I don't want to make things awkward now that, you know, we're eating the meat and thinking, oh, this chick is suffering, Joe.
But and here's the thing with me, like my friends could see, you know, when I look back, I'm like, in my head, I was like, it wasn't that bad. But it was very evident. Like my friends, all my close friends were just like, you are back. Because it was the most heartbreaking thing to see you in that state.
Sure.
And I was like, you're being dramatic.
Sure.
One of my friends, Moppy, she says, there's a call, I don't even remember this because I had already taken my meds apparently. And I was on
That's
a
the
video call
worst
with
time.
her and she said, in that moment, I've never been so scared because you were so out of it. And she was just like, how can these meds, like the state that you are in, like what?
Sure.
And I don't remember that. And she
Sure.
was just like, I would, but even then she felt like she couldn't tell me at that time that I'm really, really worried about you.
Yeah.
Because she's just like, babes, I've never
Yeah.
seen you like this. And I remember going to her house and she gave me this Coca-Cola hoodie. And she only tells me now, she's like, I didn't want to give you that sweater because I love that sweater so much. But she's like,
Shout out, Mappy.
it made you so happy.
You were
I
struggling.
mean, I hadn't seen you genuinely like for something to make you so happy because I can. And she was just like, I was just like, just have it. And I'm like, why didn't you say anything? And she was just like, in the moment, I just couldn't. I was just like,
And how did she say? Because that's the thing. How did she say it? Because it's like, you guys have never been there. It's the first time this thing has caught you. It's a big thing. So no one really knows how to approach somebody who has depression and how they're dealing with the thing. And now if I say something, is this going to push Puski over the edge? I don't know how far she is close
Yeah.
to the edge or, you know, if she's tried stuff. So I'm like, not talking about the thing makes it hard for
Yeah.
anybody who's involved to try and even navigate the thing. And I think that's what our episode did for us and it did for other people to say, no, actually, you should talk. Here's a way to talk. Here's, I mean, obviously not like the way, but at least try and talk. This is possible. Right?
Yeah.
And just demonstrating it by the conversation we were having. Because I'm just like, this thing is hard, man. So going back to what you even said about, you know, the women in your life, black women who who are themselves struggling with some form of depression because of all the suffering that they've gone through, but they don't even have language of how to, you know, the only thing is we just need to push on, bro. Let's give you the sweater. We see that things are rough, but I should be doing more, but what is the more? I don't know. So give her the sweater. Let's move on, right? Just tell you that you need to be working hard and we need to move on. As long as we all still alive and we're going, but I'm like, this thing is a burden.
Yeah.
It's heavy, right? And I wonder how the conversation would have been different had your friend been empowered with language to just be like, Mkhot, I think this is happening. And had enough skill, quote unquote, skill to, you know, approach you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that would have changed the thing, would have changed the dynamic of how you even dealt with your depression in those moments, right?
But I do think there's also, I think and I'm not saying, I mean, I might have another episode.
Yeah.
When you are in it, like, even if you ask me,
Yeah.
even if I have the right words, I don't want to talk about it. Because remember, there's a lot of dialogue happening in my head. I need to think about and play out what exactly is happening. How am I feeling? Do you know what I mean? Because it's you're a burden. I don't want to talk about there's just a lot that is happening. So I do think also there's wisdom in letting the person that is struggling take the lead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if they're ready to open up, if they've processed, and this is not me saying, don't ask how are you really doing. You know, my
Yeah,
friends
sure.
would, but sometimes we're not asking. I think if the person is ready to talk about it, you guys know your relationship. So if you need to ask, you need to ask. But also, I also want to be careful in not putting too much pressure for people to be able. So because you were saying, you know, if we had the right jargon, if we understood, do you know what I mean? Like.
Sure.
Sometimes it's just a matter of listen. Oh yeah, I was saying sometimes it's just a matter of I need to come sleep over at your place. Because I just need to be out the house.
To run away from your husband and children.
And my kids, yeah, 100%. I'm not gonna deny that. hey, yeah. Just sleep over, and we're just gonna watch Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we haven't double tapped into your reflection.
And can you stop saying double tap?
Okay. Single tap.
Yeah, okay, double click on
Right tap,
double.
again.
Hey, get out. That's it. There's no depression. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, double click sounds like a brand that I don't want to
Okay.
give
Yes.
airtime.
Okay.
So that happen.
Okay. Double tap. Let's tap on that.
Yeah.
Guys know I.
Your reflections in that day.
On what particularly? Like the aftermath of the
Yeah,
video?
yeah.
Yeah, but I think I've shared like my stuff though. I just felt naked and exposed at some parts, particularly around the stuff we shared on like sex. Yeah, because people now, some of the feedback was, sure, like, yeah, like you went in, and I'm like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Like going that deep in
Yeah.
the conversation, during the conversation, because I was so comfortable.
Yeah.
So to look back and look at it on the screen and how people responded to it, I felt a bit exposed. So it wasn't a positive feeling.
For you.
Yeah, it just felt like I
Only
feel
because
like,
of those comments that people were making. Like, sure, you really shared.
yeah, because I think it suddenly hit me. Hore, Kante, what did I exactly share? It felt like I overshared. Meanwhile, I don't think I did. It just felt like that. It just felt like I took people into our bedroom, which, yeah. Because I don't know the line there. Because again, that's one of the things that we never really speak about in black communities. Yeah. So I think to take people there, in the moment it felt good. It felt like I was sharing. And I mean, yeah, I think the beauty of sharing as friends, but then bringing other friends into it via the channel.
Cameras,
Yeah, so it felt like, oh, maybe certain people didn't need to hear that.
Yeah.
Can I ask? I'm actually interested in terms of like why, for you, why did you want to come and talk about this? Like when Black asked you, how did you feel, and what made you want to do the video? Because I think obviously most of us have been saying, like, in our community, in the Black community, people don't really talk about this. So for you,
do you want the honest answer?
Of course, we went to honest answer. What
He
do you
asked me
mean?
to be on the podcast, and
Yeah.
I just responded. There was nothing going on in my mind
Yeah.
about, I want to share this or like whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a podcast. Here's
Yeah.
the topic. Let's go. So there was nothing. It is in the moment when like we were deep in the conversation that I'm like, flip, I feel like I needed this.
Yeah.
Because it's been a whole 2 years. This is the if it's sports, this is the press conference to say what the heck just happened.
Yeah.
So it felt like that.
Yeah.
There was no deep motives going into it.
Because obviously for me, like, and for all of us, and it's true for the four of us, we've been dealing with the thing. So I've been mulling over it myself. And then I'm realizing, just even from your guys' comments now, personally, I'm learning how, I've been talking about this wintering thing. So basically wintering is how you press it into the rough moments, right? Because most of the time, like we are told, when we're going through tough times, particularly with depression, like we always are told and encouraged to look forward to the good times, But when we're having good times, nobody's like, hey man, don't have too much fun because the sad times are gonna come, right?
Around the corner.
Yeah, right. But when we're happy, it's like, oh, how do we maintain this? Don't even talk about it, But when we're sad or when things are rough, like we haven't developed skills of how to do sad, right? And pressing into that, be uncomfortable because it is uncomfortable. You're suffering, things are rough, right? So all of that, Catherine May, I think that's her surname, has a book called Wintering, and she speaks about that, And the thing is, she says plants and animals in winter, they don't fight the winter. They're not like, we're waiting for summer. We're gonna kur this thing. They're like, no, this is what we need to do in winter to survive. They do what they have to do. Animals do what they have to do. Hibernate, etc. Plants do what they have to do so that they prep themselves for the summer, right? But we always fighting against the thing, So anyway, for me, I was like, the conversation was, how do I learn how to winter better? And even hearing what you guys are saying, I'm learning just overall with engaging with people and putting out content like this, that we all have our own ways of wintering, right? We all have our own ways of dealing with hard moments and sad times. I can confess that before even shooting this episode and getting on this podcast, I used to be the guy online seeing Puski share what she's saying. I'm like, what the hell? Like, let's keep that stuff to yourself, dog. Like, what are you doing, right?
Did you really think about that for my wife's channel?
No,
That was so intense. I was like, did you really think about that?
He got
For my
scared.
wife's channel.
I wasn't scared. I was like, what are you saying?
like, is he joking?
What is going on? And I was genuinely going to answer that it wasn't her channel, but stuff that she put like on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, or Facebook or WhatsApp, right? Then I'd be like, why are you putting that stuff out there, right? But then I'm realizing, dang, man, we all have our own ways of wintering. And for other people, it's like, yo, I am, my wife used to put out stuff as well. Then I'd be like, I get it, just chill, right? But then I'm like, she's wintering. Buski's wintering. I have my own way of wintering, and I'm at a point now in my learning, or acquiring the skills of how to press into my sadness and tough times. Part of it, and I talk. So I'm like, talking just helps me, right? And if I could also help other people find ways of how to winter, yeah, let's do it, bro. Right? I will talk. I'll put on a mic, put on a camera. Let's do it. But even just talking among us, I mean, you guys know I brought a lot. So I'm like, that's it's just my way of wintering and pressing it into that. So hearing that feedback is just re-emphasizing that for me. That I'm like, if you're out there, you're figuring how to winter. Yo, man, let's continue doing the stuff together because wintering is rough. Right?
But what you said, like with them sharing stuff online, and what she said about, because I was on the other side of it where I'm like, Flip, I feel like you still deep in this thing. You're sharing a lot. You spoke about how it can be overwhelming sometimes when people ask you questions. So why the heck are you doing it?
Sure.
Well, I wouldn't voice it at that stage.
You're comfortable now. You did it.
Yeah, but I'm like, again, should you recommend how other people deal with it? Because I think letting her just winter the way she wanted to, she came to learn. Hey, maybe when I share on Instagram, people overwhelm me. Therefore, I need to stop. Versus, I think the mindset for me was just stop your wife from doing that and control how she yeah, like how she's gonna deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you want to respond to that. I mean, that was directed to you.
I mean, I think it was good that he didn't ask me to stop because that would have not ended well. Yeah, so I think there's definitely wisdom in just letting me, and I think that's the hard thing where I'm like, okay, this person is wintering, right? There are going to be some very unhelpful things they do, and when I say unhelpful, like it's not helping them get better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like and here's the thing, like if I know very well whether I'm self-sabotaging, whether there's nothing in the moment that you're gonna tell me. If I wanna go and have another drink, do I know that having that drink is bad for me and I'm probably gonna feel worse? But it's not gonna be helpful for David to say, hey, I think you should slow down there on the drinking. For me personally,
Sure.
in the moment, I'm just like, I'm going to.
Sure.
This is how I want to deal with it right now. Is it helpful? No, but I'm going to do it. I think for me, the biggest thing that I think we had to learn is that you do need to let a person process the way that they process and deal with things the way that they deal. I don't know for him in terms of having those difficult conversations to be like, this is actually unhelpful for you. Is it going to change? Is it going to make me stop? Probably not. So I don't know how you'd actually deal with it. Like, were there things that Lily would do that you were like, I don't think you should be doing this. This is not helping you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it is particularly around social media because it is like social media can get noisy with it, can get rough, right? And I think it's in those moments where I'm like, I mean, the streets are too noisy. Like I don't even know why you're going back to the streets, but and putting out the thing, you know. So maybe you're having a bad day and you're like, oh, today is rough. And it sucks having depression. Then I'm like, but you're gonna get attention, and that's gonna overwhelm you, etc., etc., which is what Govedi was saying. But then I'm like, nah, bro. Like it's again that in that moment, that's serving something that's gonna help her process whatever it is that she's going through. And I had to learn that, right? And that's when I was like, we all are different animals, and we're all wintering differently. And sure, this social media thing it's a new world for all of us, and we're all learning how to navigate it, and the rules are being made as we all I progress. So it was that, but then but again, I'm like social media was noisy for me as well in those moments. So just projecting my own feelings of feeling like I don't want to be here. This stuff is noisy. So seeing you on it, I'm like, get off. But I'm like, yeah, see, there's a lot of posts that you go back to and you like, yeah, see, this is what I was going through here. This is what happened after I posted this. Somebody engaged with me, or even just the thought was out. So it wasn't in here and it was noisy, but at least it was out and you could see it leave.
I think that's so what I wanted to say there, like with specifically the sharing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just, I don't know, it's almost like wanting to release, wanting to connect. I think it's all of it all in one.
Yeah.
Because for me, I imagine that it's like a bouncing ball in my head that's just going like a ping pong, and then it's out. But then I did have that thing where, like, if I'm like, shucks, today sucks, and then now somebody who I haven't spoken to in 4 months is trying to call me, and I'm like, this is weird, right? But I'm like, thank you, but this is weird. So to manage that, then it was actually, I saw another YouTuber talk about it, and she created a close friends list with nobody on it. Yeah. And then she just posts. It's almost like, so it feels like it's out there. So even just, I don't know what that, like the breakdown of what that psychologically does. It feels like you told someone and you just said what the thing is that you want to say. Because it's also hard to, even though there's like you're supporting me, sometimes it's like, sure, another bad day. Like I'm feeling like, so okay. But then also what I did also was to try, because I mean, being a creative, I've always drawn from myself. So I think I did those two pieces, The Dead of Sadness and Does Healing Ever Come? And that was also a way of figuring myself out trying to connect with myself, trying to find a way to release what I'm thinking, but also still get to be creative about it, which that out of everything brings me joy. So it's like, yeah, this situation sucks, but doing this one thing brought me joy at least.
Sure.
So it's like, yeah, depression sucks, but thanks for that cool poem at least. I got that, right? So I think now I'm managing it a bit more, only because I realized that after a while, I don't want sometimes, like I might appreciate responses from certain people, and then sometimes I just feel awkward. Then I feel bad that this lady's been asking me for coffee for 6 months, and I'm like, I don't want to go to coffee with you, right? So I'm like, it's okay. Let me use my blank close friends list, and yeah, but when I do share, it's with the intention again, going back to the shame, the hiding, and honestly, sometimes somebody going, I feel you, hugs, bruh. Like sometimes just reading that is like, okay, cool. Like it's just. Do I think that's a solution? Definitely not.
Sure.
And I think also just in terms of what Puski said, it's so hard because you want people to cope the way they cope, but like you also don't want people to be destructive. You know what I mean? And so and I think that's where maybe professionals come in or whatever.
But you don't think like because I think for me that's the unfair part. Even with what you say now, I just feel like on one level it feels so unfair to say that I can't speak into your life, which is what I'm hearing, and maybe like
Couldn't correct, yeah.
you can correct me there, where like you can see somebody's destructive behavior, and maybe it's just me that I feel like I have to say something. I remember that thing that Black introduced, the evil that he introduced in your house,
The Satan.
that Satan. I remember you doing that Satan stuff.
Wow, guys, can you say if you're
No,
gonna
we
say?
can't.
I
You
was
You
not
can't say
going.
it
Then it's
on
weird.
the like.
It doesn't matter, but finish your thing. Don't say it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I still remember not rebuking you, but being like, Lily, are you at it again? And you like feeling judged by what I was saying.
Yeah.
So
My-
I mean
my
I'm
point is in
saying
the
I feel like
moment.
okay.
It's not helpful in the moment, because in the moment, are you saying it's almost like stop what you're doing. I know what I'm doing is bad for me, and in the moment I'm not gonna stop doing it because you say I must stop. I wasn't saying that you don't have a right to speak into someone's life. I'm saying there's wisdom in the time.
Timing, yeah.
Yeah.
The timing.
Yeah.
Because and that's why I'm saying, even afterwards, I can be like, shucks, man, like that was just a bit too much. You know what I mean? And it can be an open discussion. But if I'm going to be down, don't stamp on me and kick me further, or point out that, yeah, you're being self-destructive when
Yeah.
you are being self-destructive.
Yeah,
like,
that's hard.
that's just not going to be helpful.
So you're saying it's a timing thing, you're not
yeah.
like I can't bring up the
Yeah, sometimes in your support, just sit with me. If I'm crying, just sit. If I'm crying, if I want to drink, you don't have to drink with me, but just be there. We're not doing right now. Is not the time to say you need to stop drinking. That's all I'm saying.
And I guess even just with this, I'm like, that's a small picture of what happens when, this ugly thing has reared its head. And it's the moments when you caught up, stuff is dark, it's rough. Because I'm like, okay, as the person who's outside of the thing, I mean, obviously we both in it, it's our thing. But in the moment, I'm like, the monster has you by the neck. And I'm seeing as an observer, okay, you might be doing something destructive. Okay, I need to use wisdom and timing, But I'm like, it's actually hard because obviously whatever it is that you're doing is affecting me. And the fact that I need to also think about when
Yeah,
to...
it's a lot.
It's hard. And it's going to be hard by the time let's say you've done something destructive for the sake of the point, and you've done it, and you've come at the end of that, and you're sitting there thinking, shucks, how did I let myself get to this thing again? Smack, I've done it. And then some like hope, little light of hope, you realize, shucks, but I also hurt him in the process. But there's nothing in you that could bring you to say, let me actually sit with David and say, dog, I'm sorry. Because you're still fighting blaming yourself. You're fighting having done that destructive thing. You're fighting having seen him watch you do that destructive thing. And that he's also like, I actually don't know when the timing is. Like, I want to
Yeah.
say the thing, but I'm also standing here. You in your corner, you drowning with the darkness, but the darkness has actually covered all of us because I'm also standing on the other side of the room thinking, timing, but okay, so by the time I figured out the timing, I still need to have the words to actually talk about what is going on, right? Which is also just burdensome on its own. And then what tends to happen is we just don't talk and we leave it.
Yeah. No, that's
And then another thing comes, you get dragged, and then by the time we actually realize, Jux, we have to talk, this thing has piled up, man.
Yeah.
Like all these episodes have piled up. All of these moments when the monster came and grabbed you by the neck, all of those experiences have piled up. And I'm just like, I don't even know how to even untangle this thing so we can have a conversation that seems to be productive to help you, and for me to actually even voice out my thing where I'm like, Duck, and I'm just seeing it now, even as we're talking, where I'm like,
no, and I
bro.
think for me it was a real build up of I don't feel like I can talk. I don't feel like my wife, so I feel like she does things that are not helpful to her, things that affect us as a family, and at any point I bring it up, it's like, yeah, but how is it affecting you? I'm like, we live with you. Like, this thing is affecting us. Yeah, and I think my fits of rage were just like me crying out for
Yeah.
like some kind of help. Yeah, so I ended up having fits of rage because it was like I feel trapped. There's an elephant in the room that's making us sink deeper and deeper, but I can't address it. I can't address the thing, but it's affecting me. So feeling like I'm backed in the corner. Because if I bring it up, it might lead her to deeper depression, deeper blame. Yeah.
Sure.
So I have a question. I don't know if it's even possible to answer. Because I mean, in all this, right, it's like, depression or whatever mental illness a person's dealing with is that it's an illness. So it's like it's the sick person, but as we've seen, like when you think the extreme, like people who are bedridden or just like terminal, the life revolves around the sick person, right? And everyone's kind of stops. There's parts where people kind of stop living because we need to sort out the sick person.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm wondering, like, what would, if it's even, I don't even, like I'm saying, I don't even know it's a possible question to answer, but what could we have done better? Or if somebody who's watching this and they are the sick person, like, I don't know if it's impossible, but I'm like, what could we, as the people who at that time, like whatever it is, you're dealing, what can I do better to help my husband support me? So for me, I would think, okay, maybe if I just tell him everything constantly all the time, right? And every single feeling I'm feeling, but then I felt like was becoming burdensome. So then it's like, how do we make sure you aren't, going through the fits of rage or maybe it's an impossible ask to ask
Yeah.
of someone who is struggling. But I guess I'm just wondering, like what about it's almost like you become collateral damage, which feels so unfair. You
Yeah,
know?
man.
It feels
I
really,
think on the one level it comes with the territory. If somebody's sick, you are gonna, bear the brunt of it. So on the one level, it's like there's nothing you can do. But I think a belief system to realize that your husband is not your enemy. Because, there are times where, like, looking back, I think I didn't say things in a loving way. Sometimes it was just about me and not thinking about, Flip, why is Puski down this road again? So it was always, I was speaking from a place of, this is how it's affecting me, and you need to stop this because of me versus like you need to stop this because it's destructive for you. So looking back, I'm like, a lot of her reaction was coming from that place where it felt like it was all about David, and I had to learn to make it about her, to realize that she is sick. Yet at the same time, I think that if you hear somebody's heart behind their judgmental ways, behind all of that stuff, so I think if you had a mindset of saying, this person is in my corner, even in moments where I attacked her, even in moments where I didn't deal with the situation right, I think it would have helped for her not to be
And not attack
rebellious.
physically.
Or
I wanted to say we need to clear up what fits of rage are as well.
No.
So fits of rage doesn't mean you were jumping for your wife's neck. You were just upset. And
can I tell the story though? Like,
it's up to you.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Because
We're
we
not.
also
we're
know
not-
what.
But by fits of rage, just to be clear, we're not saying that there was any physical violence towards your wife.
no, there was no physical violence. I was, I guess, airing out my frustration.
Yeah.
And the attack, I think, is more like verbally in trying to help her, making it about me, which seemed like a personal attack on her, and not an attempt to help her. So I think to Lily's question, what could she have done better?
Like I almost want to say, it sounds silly, but how could a person be sick better? Or like do better at being sick?
I think, and I think surrendering yourself to the other person and knowing that they've got your back. Because a lot of the rebellion, a lot of the, like, not sharing. So for me, I'm like, flip, I didn't want to find out from social media or a WhatsApp status that my wife is sad or whatever she's processing without having shared with me. Then I felt like, I'm a useless, human in this equation, because I feel like she should share those things with me. So if you're saying you feel like you are oversharing, I don't think so, because your husband is there for those kind of things. So I would love for that before it goes public to know what's going on in my wife's life. And so I think surrendering and depending on someone in that moment to say, like, if she believed that,
Yes, that's the big thing.
if she
Believing
believed
it.
that I'm actually like fighting for you and I'm in your corner, it would have changed a lot of her posture towards sharing, towards me saying unhelpful things.
But I think it's such a difficult thing to answer because also I'm very careful that somebody's gonna hear that and
Put
maybe
their
you
burden
don't
on you.
have a supportive husband.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I just want to say, to acknowledge David's struggle. I think it's when you say it's a sick person, right? Because I just imagine somebody who like struggles, let's say, with diabetes, right? And they know that eating sugar is bad for them.
Yeah.
And so it almost sounds like what we're saying is, no, allow me to eat my donuts and my sugar, even though they might kill me. So that's why I just wanted to say, I think I acknowledge the struggle where you're watching someone you love do something that they both know is destructive in the moment. And I don't have an answer. I think maybe we as the sick people, I think maybe we need to be more aware and take accountability that this person does love you, does care for you, even though honestly in that moment you don't have that capacity. Like, do you know what I mean? That's
it's
not like it's such a hard
yeah,
thing. The
that's
person knows
yeah.
they're not supposed to eat sugar. Will the sugar make them feel better in the moment? It will. You telling them stop eating the sugar is not going to make them stop. Do you know what I mean? So on the one hand, it's like you don't want to enable them to continue killing themselves. And also, you also don't want to be in a position where you feel like I can't say anything because I do love you and I'm worried about you. And that as a sick person, you also need to say, no, you need to stop eating the sugar. It's going to kill you.
Not only
then-
that, I
yeah.
think that becomes more burdensome to the people in your lives because, you're going to become more sick. Already, we're carrying you and it's not, like, you getting deeper and deeper into it. Like, you're doing unhelpful stuff. Here we are, like, we're in your corner, but, like, you're not helping yourself. So it does feel like that. It feels discouraging for the person who's on the other end.
So
because,
then where
like,
do you get support?
The person who's
As the
helping.
people around, like genuinely, because I'm sitting there going, I don't know what it's like to be on that side. I don't know what it's like to
your
like
husband.
I've watched you have difficult seasons, like it's been a difficult 4 months. So, but I've never watched you and thought this person's a goner, right? And I'm trying to think like if I was going through that, like where does someone like that go for
Yeah,
support?
yeah. That's. I mean, we kind of alluded to it in the previous episode. Just having community, me having David, I think, has been helpful. Because then I'm like, yeah, man, we can talk, we can process the thing, we can cry, we can laugh about stuff, and just be like, yo, man, let's go back into the war. And I think from the feedback I got from some husbands, that's what made me think, shucks, man, these dudes don't have people. But yet I'm like, probably the dude sitting next to you at the office, at church, wherever, at the club, I'm like, that dude next to you is probably dealing with the same thing, right? But we don't make space just to be like, oh, if it, right, stuff is rough, right? As guys. So I'm like, you'll talk about your wives being depressed, but then we wouldn't stop to say, hey man, like as we're talking about, are you okay? Like, do you are you coping? Are you handling stuff well? Sure, we all know our wives are struggling with stuff, but are we cool? But for me, I could do that with him, and I think that's what has helped. And just being like, shucks, man, this dude knows exactly what I'm going through, and sometimes if I'm like, my wife is doing something stupid, she's eating donuts again. She's a diabetes who's eating donuts, right? Diabetic, yes, who's eating donuts, right? I could come to Kobedi and be like, chick is eating donuts again, bro, right? And he gets it. He's not gonna be like, donuts, why? What's the issue? What, I'm like,
Right.
and he's like, dang, okay, cool. At this point, maybe, we'll laugh about it because it's like, here we are again, right? Trying to keep these girls away from the sugar pot or whatever, right? And we laugh about it, cry. Okay, cool, bro. So what are you gonna do? Yeah, I'll pray for you, bro. Maybe talk to her like this. Maybe say this. Okay, cool. Go back, try and figure the thing out. So I think, yeah, guys need to just talk, admit, and say, hey, man, let's carry each other.
Yeah.
With that, I just want to add, I also do think there's unhelpful things to say to the sick person, which is why that is also quite helpful to have somebody to voice your first, because your argument is
Yeah.
I'm on your side, but it's still frustrating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking the worst thing is for me to hide my coping mechanism from you, because I feel like that's also another thing that can happen where I'm like, I know you don't like me eating the donuts, right? So then what's going to happen? I'm going to eat the donuts in secret, which I think that also creates another unhelpful
Yeah.
thing.
Sure.
Where I'm like, I know David doesn't like me eating these donuts, but I don't feel judged and I know he loves me. It's frustrating for him, but you must air those frustrations out with your boy and not with me, so that I can still feel like it's somewhat of a safe space for me. And I'm not saying that that's easy for you, because it is an unfair thing, because I know what I'm doing is hurtful to me and for me. But I also think there's power in me taking that power and stopping to eat the donuts, not because you told me to, but where I act like of
You
me,
own
I'm
it.
like I'm owning it, and Puski, you need to stop eating these donuts.
Yeah, and I think, as a husband, you like you learning on the job, and I think
Yeah,
for me it
yeah,
was
100%.
yeah,
Even as the person who's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because it's like this has never happened.
Yeah.
It's waters we're navigating.
And it's
Like
scary.
and I think after like a couple of conversation, it takes time to click that flip. I don't think the way I'm like speaking to my wife is helpful, because it's pushing her away instead of winning her. And I think conversations with you in particular were very helpful. I think the other thing that, with regards to community, having your parents saying at any time you need to bring the kids, we here, and feeling like these people mean it. Like we can actually take these kids for 3 years there.
Yeah.
Because at some point
Let's try. Let's try.
I'm tempted to. Like,
You would never.
Let's
you
try.
would
We'll
never.
visit
There was a
them over
time
the
where-
weekends.
when did they leave? When did we have?
It was
December.
in December.
You
Yeah,
were gone
no.
for like a
Yeah,
month.
No, after 1
3
week you
weeks
feel
or whatever.
bad, you miss them. And then life becomes normal. You're like,
Munati.
my girlfriend is back.
Yeah, I know.
So
That's a whole other
it's possible.
episode.
And, yeah.
I mean, I'd probably, sorry to cut you off, but like previous episode, we spoke about how hard it was for Puski to even broach that subject with her mom.
Yeah.
And there was a season where you guys actually kept the reality of your depression hidden from your mom. I mean, we could pick it up, but after you finish your...
No, but I think even with that, there was growth in their understanding of the thing.
Yeah.
Where like before, like they would have because they didn't understand what was actually happening. And I think the more and more they understood what this thing is. So to have grace on people who say unhelpful things, who don't really understand, is also a thing. Because if I hadn't gone through depression, I'm pretty sure I would, well, not me, but like...
Yeah. No, you went through it.
There's some views you'd still be holding.
that are very unhelpful. So having been through it, they themselves developed, grew, and became more understanding, became more helpful.
So I had an answer for you, and then I want Puski to pick up the comment I made. But it was hearing Puski speak now, you know, about the eating of donuts and what the sick person can do. So I'm like, I think in the moment, because you, like, both of you are very articulate now, that I'm very conscious when I'm eating the donuts. I know I'm not supposed to eat the donuts. So for me, I'm like, and we've kind of done that, but very slowly. I'm like, it's dope if you would say to me in the moment, hey, dog, I have this donut and I'm about to chow it.
Yeah.
I know it's bad.
Yeah.
And I know it's hurting you.
Yeah.
I'm coping with this thing right now, right? It's hard, but I'm going to chow it. So then it says to me, dang it, okay, this donut's going to kill you.
But
But yeah.
At least you are aware that this
You're
is...
aware, and you've
real.
invited me in, and I'm like, it's gonna be awkward for both of us to
Yeah,
sit
man.
in this thing.
Yeah.
But shucks, man. Okay, cool. And then when I'm in there while you're chowing it, I can say, can I make a comment about the thing? Yeah, you're in. I've invited you. Let's talk.
Yeah.
But I'm not stopping this. I'm eating it.
Yeah.
But yeah, make your comment. What's the thing? I think
Okay.
this thing is gonna kill you. Blah, blah, blah. Shucks, bro. I know. So I think as the sick person, letting your husband in that moment, because that just makes the thing. I think it disempowers the monster, because the monster has power over both of us. If it's gonna put you in your corner and me in my corner.
Yeah.
Right? When I've said we,
Yeah, you say wise things when
we.
hey,
I wanted to say something.
What
but
are you gonna say?
So instead of I think empowering it by sitting in our corners and not acknowledging the thing, then I think it obviously has a hold on us. But once we say, and maybe even normalizing talking around the thing, because unlike somebody who's sick physically, when you can see the thing,
Yeah.
and we like, okay, take the person off work, and because they can't handle stuff, their body's weak. But this, it's like, but you still have to go to work. You still have to look after the kids because we can't physically see where you're being hurt, right? And that's what makes the thing hard. So I'm like, for the sick people, I think normalizing it in your head to say, it's fine, bro. I might be oversharing, but I'm gonna announce stuff, right? So as I walk in the house, yo man, work was rough, right? Things were tough, and the only thing I've been thinking about is eating donuts when I come home, so that I can cope and figure out my stuff. Is that whatever donuts are for you, right? The place where you like, I know I shouldn't go there because it perpetuates this thing, but right now, and I'm announcing it, then I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I need 5 seconds to go into the bathroom and pray for a strategy. And I'm like, yes, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, but at least it's announced, it's there. So I can come in and I'm allowed to press in. And then you could even say in the moment, I think you're pressing in too much here, but me, I just want to sit and eat, dog. Okay, cool. It's fine, but it's out there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that would be a better way, man.
That
yeah.
you're fighting it together. Yeah.
So obviously I had asked Puski about the thing, but I think obviously this conversation is big. So your mom and having dealt with that, we'll probably pick it up some other time, because I think we still need to speak about like depression and faith,
Yeah.
and how our faith was rocked, right? And I think
Yeah.
it's still
Still-
recovering.
Still rocked.
Our relationship with Jesus is like
I
Turkey
think-
turkey.
I think it will definitely be a big one, because I think like it's a thing of like, if God is like so loving, why would you put me through this? And it's not like something that, oh, I was robbed, or it's like, and it's not we scanned and we can see the lump that needs to be cut out.
Yep.
It's just my mind is working, like the machine is turning against itself. Like,
Yo.
how do you?
Yeah.
I think that I would love to have that conversation.
That's a bigger one. So
'Cause that
that's
was
the
also
thought.
where there was shame as well, because it's
Yeah.
like, you're the head and not the tail.
You're a Christian. You need to, and then obviously there's obviously people are loving on you,
Yes.
but then other people are rebuking this thing, and you're like, what are you actually?
I wish it could just be rebuked.
What are you
The
actually
spirit of
rebuking,
repression.
bro? Anyway, we'll pick that up, because I
We
think
should.
that's a
Yeah.
massive
Yeah.
one.
I think we should.
But where are we now? Where are you guys now?
I'll go first. So when we released that episode, I think I was about 4 months into like a really good time, and since then it's been hard. Yeah. And so even now, like I have that creeping shame thing happening again, because there's like the Lily that goes, yeah, who did you think you were saying that, you know? But
Papa, and my podcast. Eh?
and even though I said then in that episode that I don't know where I'll be in a couple of months,
Yeah.
there's somewhere where I thought, but I'll be fine. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be dealing. So it's kind of like every day has been more of a fight, which is scary, because it's like, is this a sign of like, is this like a bad omen, or you know? So I'm just working extra hard at the good coping mechanisms that I had to replace the bad ones with. Because sometimes for me,
Throwing
it's
out
like,
the donuts and getting some. Veggies.
honestly, like I've become a person who like runs. I was like I don't know, because sometimes literally that run is gonna sort me out for like the next 4 hours. Is my depression cured because I ran? No. But that day when I need to do the work, play with Zaya, like those endorphins like help me in that. In the same way that maybe eating the donut would help me numb out for 4 hours, right? So that's what I'm just pressing in more to that. I am a bit scared right now, I'll be honest, just because I'm not. Yeah, why are we getting emotional? That's what we do.
Let's do
We're
it.
not crying on the camera. Yeah, it's been tough and it's scary, but I think it's like at the same time, I've achieved a lot.
You have.
You know, and so it's like, so part of me is like, oh, so this might be my life. Yeah.
There was that
But
one
I'm
day.
fighting. I'm not fighting. I really am fighting.
No, you are fighting. And
Hard.
I can attest to
Yo.
that. You're kurinko, which is dope. There was that one day, and I think we were speaking about like all the ways to eat veggies. So what are all the good habits that you need to be like zoning into? Stuff that you're doing, but I think just pressing into those things, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, sure. Which again, I think is a picture of how this thing comes up, right? I'm like, yeah, we're speaking nice things. Okay, sure, you're gonna do this, dope. I'm encouraging you, girl, you're doing nice. Wow. Next day, load shedding, quick. Like I was like, what? Like now we're talking about
Yeah.
you fighting, and the next day I remember you were like, I am out, and I'm like, okay, this is I'm out, but yeah, at 4 I'll go for my run. No, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like zero. Like not even. I think even load shedding, you know that I had 4 hours is coming back. This was like, no, the grid has failed. Like the thing that as a country we like don't happen, right? Nah, ESCOM exploded, blew, no lights are coming back. You're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
You need to rebuild. I was like, dang. Like
Yeah.
that was. But then the crazy thing is, 2 days after that, you're like, oh, I'm back. and you going. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I guess that's life right now.
Okay.
Which I'll take over just the misery
Yeah.
of the last couple of years. So
Yeah, and I think then the difference there is before, you know, you'd have a bad day like that, take you long to come out. You wouldn't even acknowledge that I've dipped. But now you're like, yeah, dog, I've dipped. It's rough. Okay. You're gonna chill there? I'm not choosing to chill here. I am being forced to chill here. Okay. Dope. And then next thing you're up again. I'm like, okay, so let's go, bro. Right? And I think the fighting is way better than before. But props for that anyway. Yeah.
thanks, man.
Okay. Sheesh, man. I think I am still in a good place. And when I say that, I mean I haven't had a thought of like unaliving myself in a while. But I think getting the new job.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Zanzi, mom. Guys, subscribe to Ms. Zanzi, mom. Zanzi, mom.
I like, you know, when you just like, man, I grew so much from being in that space.
Yeah.
But even towards the end, you guys know the thing that happened that was like the leave stuff. But anyway, so there was something that happened, and it almost took me back where I was just like, the anxiety was there. I couldn't sleep. I was just like, so being out of there has really, really helped. But I think there was trauma, guys, because even now I'm like, it feels too good to be true. Like I'm waiting to get rocked and for things to be bad and for things to be hard. Like it feels weird to not be in that kind of environment. And I think I'm at a place where I'm so used to dealing with the bad coping stuff. So eating the donuts. Now I'm at a point where I'm like, no, you need to stop eating these donuts now.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's I'm in that kind of phase. But I think mentally I'm doing well. Emotionally I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So, but I think there is that, like when you get the bad days, and not like bad dog, but like where it's just not a good day. There is that fear of sure, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. But it's not a crippling fear. Now we are moving.
Come on now.
Kind of what was your thing? Lily?
We are.
We are here.
Hey, we are moving. We are moving. Yeah.
There's so many pockets around. Obviously, we know mental health is a big thing, but I'm like, just even here, I'm like, depression and corporate SA alone.
Yo.
Yeah.
People are struggling out there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Cobbs,
Malume.
where you at that day? And then we'll
Malumes,
wrap
Malumes,
up
man.
with
Mina, I'm happy.
I'm very, very.
I'm very happy. I'm happy, as my friend Grace would say. I think a relief, a sense of relief that I'm not having to, take care of a depressed wife. I think the new job has been fantastic, a blessing from above. Just that my wife is more available. I feel more like getting the kids from school, and this wasn't depression related, but just the logistics of her coming back from the office. And I think I'm at a stage where I'm tired of kids. So just honestly, like having had to bear the load for a number of
Yeah.
Because for a season you were a dad and a mom.
yeah. So I think that now I can breathe.
Sure.
And I think that's a good thing. At the same time, it's one of those where you just sitting on the edge of your seat. Like even with what she's sharing now, with having to pick her up from work and her blood pressure is above the roof. And I'm like, what just happened?
Shucks, bro.
And we were reflecting back on that when she started the new job. I'm like, Flip, I'm quite happy. I still remember picking you up from this place to kind of rescue you from what nearly became step back to depression. So yeah, I on the one level feeling like I wish I had enough money that my wife doesn't have to work in corporate SA. But that's
Hallelujah.
another again conversation for another day of like having to live in middle class, live a middle class life, and having to provide as a husband. Because I think that there's pressure in that flip. Like if my wife could just not work, that would be great. Because we need to build a home here. Yeah, so I think there's a sense in which I'm scared that I hope we don't go back there.
Yeah.
At least, to how bad it was. On the last point, I think the donuts are a real stumbling block for me, and they still remain a stumbling block because, like it's one of those where I'm like, we still live in the after effects of the illness, and they're here. So the illness is not left, but it's better. But the donuts are still there, and
That's a massive one.
And like I just, for me as a husband, feel personally, I don't know how to deal with it.
Sure. Okay, I think for me, I think I'm personally at a spot where I'm trusting that you are being vulnerable more. Because before I'd feel like I have to convince you that I'm here, so open up. But I think I'm at a point now where I'm trusting that you are giving me all that you want to give me. I think, which is dope. So that's where I'm at, and I think that shapes us in how we're fighting the thing now. We be chatting more frequently about your struggles and where you're at. So that's great, man. Yeah.
Viva my fighters. Viva.
I think just for the sake of time, man, to pick this up another time. So shout outs to you guys for always availing yourselves. But again, we not saying this is medical advice. Go speak to your peeps that are professionally trained for this stuff. But we hope that this conversation allows for you guys to speak, right, with your spouse, with your husband, with your wife, especially if you are dealing with depression or mental illnesses of whatever kind. So we need to pick this up some more. So
Cool. Thank you for having us.
shout outs to you guys. Shout outs to you guys. All right. Peace.